Again, President of the United States not taking questions after addressing the country. First, in a bizarre turn of events about Build Back Better, and then voting rights legislation, acting like the Afghan crisis is just one of many of your typical things the White House deals with on an average week. Finally getting into the G7 conversations he had. Said everything was going great with this evacuation, and then did a big number dump about how many flights have gone out and how the allies are working closely together. That just does not square with pretty much every single bit of reporting which we've seen, and says ISIS could be running us out of the airport. And the deadline, 31st, is going to stick as long as the Taliban lets us do this, that, and the other thing. Dana, this was a meaningless address to the American people. How would you frame it?
Well, one, I screamed a little when he started with Build Back Better. I get it. The Democrats passed it in the House with their razor-thin margin, $3.5 trillion in spending that will saddle you with debt for the rest of your lives. But other than that, you cannot try to say that your domestic agenda is more important than the international crisis that you are supposed to be handling. So again, it's like every time he has spoken this week, and I have a great deal of respect for this Office of the Presidency, the president himself, when he speaks and he's reading the teleprompter, it's like, are you internalizing these words? Are you understanding? Because the other thing that's really been very frustrating since last Friday, we've pointed it out again and again, he says these things, or the press secretary has said things that then you are looking at the people that you're talking to on the ground, like I am here. Somebody, he's not on the ground, but he's trying to help people there. He's like, they're not getting any help. You are actually hearing things that are completely the opposite of what they're saying. And when he talks about 707,000 have been taken out, a lot of that was done by our allies. And so for the allies having been so frustrated with the way that this was handled, and then Boris Johnson having to call for a G7 meeting, and then for him to say, yep, we're all on the same page, everything's fine. But also note this, and I'll let you guys talk. He already has terms for recognizing the Taliban's legitimacy. If you listen to what he said there, that we're not going to take their word for it, but here are these things that they would need to do. And, you know, I don't also know about this ISIS threat. There are reports, and we can ask Jennifer Griffin when we have a chance, that talking about the ISIS threat, which, believe me, I don't want ISIS anywhere, but is that basically a way for us to get out of the airport sooner than we actually need to before we can get all of our people out? 4,000 Americans have been taken out, and the president's saying, oh, we'll tell you tomorrow how many there are. I don't think they necessarily know, and I understand why they might not know, but to me, that was subpar, to say the least.
He seems very focused on the danger of staying a few days longer, but not focused on the danger that Americans face, Greg, who are stranded behind enemy lines, and he just hasn't met the moment.
He's like a fading talent that just had to play all the greatest hits, right? So he went up on stage just now, started with the free stuff. Look at all these free things. Mm-hmm. Then he did the climate crisis, of course. Then he did corporate taxes, right? What did he say? Pay your fair share. And then you did the voter suppression. All of these things are there just because they're kind of like the way that they can say, look, I'm still president. This thing is just something else.
Right.
But it also plays out. It makes him look like he's trying to avoid the elephant in the room. But when I look at him, I don't blame him. I can't blame you. It's unfair to just blame him. We had 20 years. How did that happen? How did we have 20 years of this? Because we need to explain that. We need to investigate that as well as this, because they're all linked together in this kind of weird amorphous ambivalence toward Americans in general who paid for this with blood and treasure, right? We had grifters and bureaucrats who basically took advantage of our wealth and our own kind of distraction with modern novelty to let this happen. I also want to just bring up what really, chaps my hide, and I hate using that kind of language, Dana. But, I'm going through this complex process of getting a handgun in New York City. I could have just joined the Taliban because it is easier to get guns from America being in the Taliban than being a citizen in New York who's come under threats, and all I want to do is get a permit for a gun, and I say that we just hand over rockets, rifles, handguns to the Taliban, the new improved Taliban, like ISIS-K. Sounds like a cereal.
Nicest K. And then, Dagan, potentially, if you have to send commandos into the countryside after the deadline to rescue stranded Americans, you're going to have to fend off a Taliban, as Greg mentioned, that's armed to the teeth with our gear. It makes it that much harder.
It's disgusting, and that's a word I can say on television. People I've talked to are worried about our troops who are at the airport, that they're sitting ducks now. Just a few things. Jen Psaki spoke before Biden. That way she doesn't have to do cleanup for all the lies and the fallacies.
Then he didn't have to take questions.
Right. But what happened last Friday, remember, he lied here, there, and everywhere about our allies are with us. Al-Qaeda's gone from Afghanistan, and Americans can get to the airport. So at least this delays the cleanup process until tomorrow. He actually lied right out of the gate about the economy. He was talking about how bad the economy was when he took office. No, it wasn't. It was the recession ended in April of last year. He can't even get basic facts correct. But he is told he seems to be allergic to the truth, to strength, to competence and reality. And I don't think we'll ever get a number of Americans who are still in Afghanistan, because that way they can lie and say that all Americans are out. This is the date. It's the date certain. We're pulling our troops. Yay, let's celebrate. And it's a political win for me. That's the depths of disgusting that this administration is plumbing right now.
Jessica, I want to ask you about what Dana said. The president is not emotionally connecting with the country. He's not emotionally connected to the situation in Afghanistan. He goes up there and he reads words, poll-tested phrases that he didn't write himself, and then he scrambles away without taking any questions. We need to hear the president off script. We need to see what his heart is feeling. And you're not getting that at a teleprompter address like that. He looks cold, he looks heartless, and then he runs away.
Well, I appreciate that you were listening to me yesterday, since I said what I want to see most of all is the empathizer in chief, the guy who won this election at a time when it's very hard to beat a sitting president historically in the depths of a COVID massacre, because he was connecting with people and he was saying, I understand, I feel your pain in all of these different ways. And so I agree with you. I think emotional Joe Biden is the best Joe Biden. This is, if you're looking back his career, this decision on foreign policy basis is not a surprise, right? He's on record over the course of decades having very similar reactions to kind of these forever war scenarios. There were a couple of things that stood out to me that I want more information on. This timetable adjustments, the potential for that, because we heard August 31st was a hard line, but he said it's open to adjustments. What could that mean? I mean, how many days is that? How many more troops is that? We've already started the withdrawal. Second thing, the unified front, which Dana spoke to at the beginning. We know that that isn't the case. Boris Johnson has been quite outspoken, and Tony Blair, who's not in office anymore, kind of ripped him a proverbial new one, right? And Angela Merkel as well. This is something that we all got into together, like for better or worse, and they have been responsible for a lot of the evacuations. I do want to address, though, the Republicans who spoke this morning, like Congressman McCall, et cetera, and they're just saying this is all Joe Biden's fault. And this is a bit to what Greg was talking about. This did begin as Donald Trump's plan, and it was supposed to be May 1st versus August 31st. And I'm not here to say, like, Orange Man bad and Joe Biden good, but this is not all Joe Biden. This is, 4 presidents have been involved in this, and he did on the first day when we started to pull out say, I'm not going to push this on to a 5th president. And that is important. And we got 21,600 people out in the last 24 hours. It will be the largest airlift in U.S. history when that's done. Allies are helping. But those things do matter. There are things that are going right amidst all the chaos.
Right. I think bragging about the amazing airlift is totally detached from how this country feels about the situation.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.